All right, hi and welcome and hello everyone. It is Wednesday. That means it is time for Mini Mayhem. I am Vee Mus'e. I will be your host. I will be your painter. I will be your previewer for today. So first of all, thank you everyone that I am seeing jump into chat. So good to see you. So hi, hello ahead of time. If you are new, I'm going to do the whole YouTuber thing right now. If you are new, please be sure that you subscribe down below. Describe, I'm putting down and subscribe together. Subscribe down below, click that button, and that way you'll be able to help us out here. And if you want to know when we go live with things like Mini Mayhem or Much Ado About Gaming, ring the notification bell and it'll let you know when we are going live. It'll also give you a heads up in terms of when we have things like our HeroClix unboxings with Scott Porter, as well as other videos that may be appearing on the channel in the future. So that all being said, we are looking at all things D&D today. And of course, you know, being your D&D girl, I am thrilled about this. So it's sort of a twofer. We have, oh, hello, Joseph. Nice to see you in the chat. So we're going to have a paint along, as well as a sneak peek, as well as a look at a different product that we're working on with Vallejo, because a few of you have been asking me about the Vallejo paint kits. So what I'm going to do today is we're first going to start off painting the Banderhob from D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures. This is the packaging. So when you go to find this in your FLGS, you want to look for the yellow background packaging for the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures. I've already taken it out of the blister because, you know, it's just easier to get it set up. And hello, Ryan, and hello, Viper. Thank you so much for jumping in. It's going quite well. So this is in your FLGS now. It is part of Wave 13. If an FLGS is not an option, I'm always going to give this spiel. You can always check on dndmini.com as well as shop.wizkids.com or Amazon, or pretty much check online if a local game store is not an option for you. If you're not sure if you have a local game store near you, that is where you need to check out this link right here below me that I am pointing to with my finger. Go to that link and you can actually put in your search parameters. It'll show you any local game stores near you. Just a little tip for those of you who may be new to your area, or maybe there's a store that opened up that you weren't aware of, things like that. But always, please check with your local game stores. See if they have these available and in stock. I know we're in odd times right now, but many of them are doing things like they will, for an additional shipping fee, they will ship these to you. There will be other things like curbside pickup, sometimes scheduled appointments to pick up or come shopping. They're giving a lot of options, so please touch base with them, especially if you have one that you liked working with in the past. I already see that the chat is going a mile a minute. Oh, I'm glad you noticed, Jonathan noticed the background display. See, I thought I'd have some fun with the background, especially for when I'm doing the paint ones, because the paint ones are a little bit less up here and a little bit more over here. But let me say hello to Jonathan, hello to PL Stowe, hello Robin, hello the consummate nerd, hello Federico. Oh, you're all jumping in. It's great. If you have a question for me, remember it is put it in caps, question, and then have your question following. It makes it a lot easier for me to jump over and look at my screen and see those questions coming. I have my full command center going on here right now. Also, fun fact, my old microphone died. And of course, today of all days, FedEx is like, oh yeah, we're delivering the new one, but a signature is required. So if for some reason you hear my cell phone buzzing, it's because I've left them a note. I'm like, please text me because I'm streaming at this time. Someone is home. Trust me, someone is home. Because I want to try and get this new microphone going and set up so that the sound quality is a little bit better for you all and you can all enjoy it a little bit more. Hello, Leonardo. Thank you for jumping in. But yes, I thought it would be fun to have a sort of display going on behind me thematically based upon the line that I'm doing. So this is actually a mix of D&D Icons of the Realms, as well as the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures that I have painted in the past. So it's a nice little mix of D&D, and plus there are a few dragons that I wanted to have on hand when it comes time to showing off the red dragon. So you have a sense of scale as well as what is going on. But what's the mini in front of the blue dragon? Well, I have a couple. We have the Ogre Zombie Paint Night kit. This is the one that I did. I did the video, the instructional video for that one. So this is the Ogre Zombie that I painted up. You can actually see it in the video should you get one of those Paint Night kits. And then I also have the little gold dragon that I painted with my buddy Mark Meir. And that actually is a stream that's here on the YouTube channel if you want to catch how to paint this one up. So those are the two in front of the blue dragon. But I'm going to show off the red dragon in a little while because basically we're literally going to be waiting for paint to dry between steps. So I thought it would be fun to have something to show off in between to give you a closer look. And we'll talk more about the dragons at that point. But I'm going to switch screens here. We're going to go overhead. And if for some reason you need the music lower, higher, what have you, do let me know, because I know it can kind of vary between what I'm hearing and what you're hearing on your end. Let me see here. Using a cell phone on your stream, I never. Le gasp! Such a streamer faux pas. Hey, it happens. I mean, you know, life is a thing. Speaking of which, let me tuck it behind me so it's not falling off onto the ground. And I'm just, God, you guys are super chatty today, and I love it. The blue dragon, the young blue dragon, very nice. Any chance huge adult dragons will be released in Nolzur's don't rule things out. Let me just put it that way. I can't speak to yes or no, Evan, but I can say that it's a concept that, you know, might be getting batted around here and there. So stay tuned for announcements of that. If you're ever curious about upcoming releases, announcements, and everything like that, check out in the description. I have all of our socials linked down there. Just click and go and follow, like, subscribe, all that goodness. And let's see. Oh, Hilarious. I was about to speak. What I'll do is I'm going to speak to the blue and the green adult dragons when it comes time to taking a look at the adult red dragon during some dry time. So I'm going to switch overhead. I think I caught everyone in the chat. If I have missed something you said, please do not take it personally. You are super chatty today, and I am not discouraging that. In fact, I am loving it. If I miss it, you can always just type it in again and again. The questions, really, they do catch my attention, especially if it's in all caps. And yes, chromatics are definitely coming out this year. Calcius, right? Is that how we're saying your name? So here is the Banderhob. Again, Wave 13, Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, in stores now. So you can find this in stores, $8.99, suggested MSRP. Make sure you have that going on here. I have taken it out of its box already, and I've put it, this is what I do. When I go to paint, I always put it onto a pill bottle. And if you can find the pill bottles that actually have the spin childproof cap, it's very handy when it comes to painting miniatures. Stick it on with some blue tack. You can see it right there at the bottom here. And I always, you hear that? I always fill it up. I think this one might have salt in it, but I'll put like sand or rice or salt or something into the bottom just to give it a little bit of weight, because I find it helps counterpoint the weight of the miniature at the top if you have weight in the bottom in your bottle. Just a quick little, you know, on the cheap side note type of thing for when you're painting your miniatures. Now, in terms of these Vallejo paint kits, these are the two I'm going to be using. All right. Now, keep in mind, this is not something that we as Whiz Kids are selling. We are licensed with Vallejo for them to sell these products. So it's not something you're going to find on our website. I did put in the description the link to the Vallejo's website that gives you all of these kits, everything that they're doing with us. And I went and I was bopping around online earlier, and you can find these in various places online. The prices for this size seems to vary. I was seeing anything from like $11.99 up to $19.99. Some of that does include shipping. Some of them do not include shipping. So it could be like the $11.99 once you put in your shipping, then that gets factored in. But these are out and available in different locations. For more information, do check with Vallejo, because these are Vallejo products. However, because we are licensed with them, many of you have been asking about them. So I wanted to be sure you got a chance to see what goes into these and what you can expect from them. I basically treated this as I wanted to snag a couple that had most of the colors I would need for this. The only color that I did not have in that I will need is black, and that is literally for the slit pupils on the Banderhob's eyes. So that's why I grabbed my own personal black bottle. Let me see here. An adult green wrapped around a tree of the dragon. Okay. And let's see. Why were the 2D miniatures delayed? We had something go on where we wanted to go back to the drawing board and fix a couple things. Simple as that, straightforward. There will be 2D miniatures coming out. It's just one of those things where your patience is very much appreciated. Let me see here. Yes, check with your FLGS. Thank you, Calcius. FLGS as well. I'm painting. I should not pull my sleeves over my hand. They should have them as well. And there's a really good variety. So again, check with Vallejo. So today what I'm going to be looking at to use, because of the colors that I need for the Banderhob, I'm using Woodland Creatures as well as Defenders of the Wild. Now keep in mind, when you get these, and you're familiar with this, you've seen this before with our videos for Paint Night Kits as well as on Realmsmith's own channel, there are going to be Realmsmith tutorials included in the packaging, so you can go in and check it out and get a step-by-step tutorial from Realmsmith on their YouTube. So that's really kind of what goes into these things, and it's just these bottles of paint. So I'm very much looking forward to being able to do this with you and give you an idea of how these paints are. In terms of other supplies, I have classic paper towels, all right? And I always use a paper plate for my palettes. Okay. In terms of how they compare to other paints, actually, Pale Stowe, I don't have any Army Painter paints. Paints that I have are either Vallejo or from Plaid Crafts. Yes, I use craft paints. So I can't speak to the difference in quality in between the two. I have some Army Painter washes and I have some Citadel washes, but I don't have Army Painter paints. The focus today is looking at Vallejo paints, though, so please keep that in mind. Let's see here. Woodland creatures. Well, we're going to take a look at the bottles that are included, but we're going to be painting the Banderhob here, Leonardo. So paper plate for paints. I'm going to have that off screen though, because white tends to flare every so often. Obviously some water for rinsing. I have my brushes now. These are brushes that I am partial to. I enjoy using them. They are just basically the Mod Podge brushes, and these are my tried and trues. So that's what I gravitate towards. I'm very hard on my brushes, very hard on them. These hold up to me. If you have a particular brush style that you prefer, then I always recommend to painters, use what is most comfortable in your own hand. You don't have to use a particular brush because someone says, use this brush. It's more the style of the brush. So I'm going to be very cognizant of making sure that I am using brush style names for you to better put to use what's going on with the paint tips. I was just reading Consummate Nerd. The stag and the models. You know, maybe I could, we haven't done any wild animals lately, so maybe I could look into, that's a good question, SL. There are no miniatures included in the boxes. It is strictly just paints, not even brushes. You get the tutorials from Realmsmith and you get the paints. And again, I can't speak to the pricing because it varies on the sources I was finding online. If you want more information on those, check out Vallejo's website. Link is in the description below, specifically for the WizKids licensed line. Hopefully that covers the general subject for these paint kits. So I have already gone through and looked. I always do like a little notebook of how I'm going to break things down. So first thing I'm going to look into painting is the body and the base and the mouth. So I'm going to go into Defenders of the Wild, and I want to pull out the heavy green, because that's what I'm going to start with for the body. So what we're going to do is they open from the top here. And there is a little glue going on here. So once I open this up, the box is pretty much done. So open it from the top here. And you can see, and I'll give you a comparison. This is a standard Vallejo bottle. So it's a good starter set. These are very much starter sets for people. So you can tell the difference. Vallejo's classic, and this is the WizKids bottle. So this is a goblin green. I am going to use that one later, so I'm going to put that there. But you can see they're all lined up inside. They kind of almost remind me of, if you've ever bought food coloring, that kind of a setup. But as you can see, it's strictly just the paints. And then you get this little pamphlet that leads to the tutorials. Okay. Hello, Erasmus, aka Jeremy. Hi. And here we have, this is my heavy green. Okay, so you can see they do give you still the Vallejo code and the Vallejo name. So this is something where if you ended up liking this color and you wanted to get more of this paint, very easy to track down and find, again, through Vallejo's website, various online sources, and all that goodness. So what I'm going to do is I always shake my paints. Shake them up because sometimes they need to be shaken, not stirred. And we're going to start with the green on the Banderhob's body. I am going to use just a general purpose brush. And oops, I lied. Well, not lied, but I forgot. I have another set of brushes that I like to use, and this is sort of my favorite go-to for general. And this is from the Royal and Langnickel line of paintbrushes. They also have these great chisel points at the end, which are good for mixing paints, but not going to be mixing today. I have all the colors I need, like I said, outside of black. Yes, we're not painting houses here, and it truly is. I like these sets because of the fact that they fall into the affordability factor, and they're paint colors that you can use for more than just one style of miniature. And you can sort of piecemeal them together in terms of what I just did. You can get two, and that way you're set for the one, and then you realize you can do more because of it. So I have the paint on here, the heavy green. I am going to add in some water because this is just a little bit more thick than I like it to be. So I just go in and I do a few drip drops of water. And I'm just going to mix this together, and that'll help me get started. And I'm literally just going to go through and start getting this all over the Banderhob's body. The reason why I'm starting with the body is because I'm going to be more careful around the base when I go in to use, I think I'm going to use heavy sienna. Yeah, when I go in for the base and put heavy sienna down. So we're going to just start from top to bottom and go from there, basically. And as always, you don't want to overload your brush because it can get very easy to make it so it's too much. And if you put too much paint onto your brush, you're going to end up putting too much paint onto your mini. And the reason why that is actually not a grand idea, like you can see here, I'm not being super careful because I know I'm going to go back in. Actually, let me just quickly adjust. You know how I am. I am always going to go around and adjust focus as needed. So let me pull this up. I want to bring my focus in just a little bit. There. Okay. Because if you start putting in too much paint, you start to overload and fill in details, which you don't really want to have happen. And just like all the other miniatures, this is primed. So you do not need to go in and prime. This is basically ready and used from the blister. Okay? You may find sometimes, I did not find on this one, I will say this one truly was take it out of the box and go. You may find sometimes there might be some mold lines you want to clean up. That is a pretty straightforward basic fix. You can use anything from fine grain nail files. You can also get special tools that will strip away the mold lines if you so choose. But these are basically meant that you can take them out of the box and get going with painting. No problem, Daniel. I'm glad you were able to have that question answered ahead of time. Essentially, it is the Vallejo paint colors. It's just the particular kits pulled together to cater to particular minis that you'll see on the front and get those tutorials from Realmsmith is really how these sets work. And again, great option for people just getting into the hobby so that they can start off, get a feel for things without investing a whole lot of money. Because let's face it, it is an investment. Paint is always an investment. So it's one of those options that I think is great for people who either are, you know, beginners, intermediates, even if it's just something you need to fill in the blank a little bit with what you have in supply and what you need. That would also be a great option. So essentially this heavy green is going all over the Banderhob because they're basically all over green. Pretty straightforward rationale. But you can see it's taking the paint just fine. And it does help with having them primed ahead of time. And I know some people have preferences for priming. I actually will do a thing where I will go back in and I paint something entirely black. And then I do sort of, I call it shadow layers. And I will go in and do various levels of dry brushing to add some depth. It almost looks like a pencil sketch when I'm done. And then I'll go back in and I will do either washes or inks or glazes of color. That's something I really like to do, especially if I have a super high detailed mini that I want to bring out every little detail. I love doing things like that. Hello. We have two mics, one after the other, Mike Baker and Mike Hawkins. Hello, the mics. Thank you for joining us. And you're catching me painting the D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures Banderhob. Again, Wave 13, and I should have their information in the description as well in terms of SKU, as well as suggested MSRP of $8.99. So this is pretty straightforward. And again, once I get these base colors on, starting colors, I should say, once I get these on the Banderhob, what I'm going to do is let the Banderhob dry for a few minutes while we take a look at the Red Dragon. The Red Dragon is available for pre-order now. You know I'm going to say FLGS first, please. Please, please, please check with your FLGS first and get your pre-order in there. You can also go to dndmini.com and other online options. Just a little FYI for you. This is the other thing I find I do, is I start painting and then I kind of just, as I'm chatting, I start going all over the place. So I'm going to make sure I like spin this around and get all sides. Now, obviously, I'm not going to put the green into the mouth. That's going to be a different color, which also will be getting painted in this first round of colors. A lot of what happens with this particular Banderhob, I was looking at the official artwork, I was looking at our renders of this. In fact, right above my head That's one of my references that I'm using, which is why I have it up on screen so that those of you watching, even if you're wanting to paint along with me, you will be able to see what I'm looking to for my own personal reference. But as you can see here, the paint's going on quite nicely. It's also because the paint is thinned, in case you're joining me after the thinned paint tip. You don't always have to thin your paints. There is the running joke of thin your paints! And yes, like right now, this is the time to thin your paints. You don't need thick, heavy coats of paint. In this case, it's going on beautifully thinned out. It was just a couple of drops. I'd probably say it was like 5 drops of paint to 2 drops of water, if that. It's a fantastic green. I'm loving this heavy green. It's a good, rich, earthy green that I am extremely happy with. And it's like right up the color that I needed for this Banderhob. All right, I have some hidden away spots. There will be times you'll see me pull the mini up here just so I can get to some angles a little bit better. Painting under a camera is always interesting. But it's fun being able to do these paint-alongs with all of you, especially because I am really starting to miss being able to do conventions and paint-alongs at the conventions, because those were always so much fun, especially seeing what people end up doing and learning. I get a lot of beginners for those on my end. So you can see I'm making progress with Mr. Banderhob. We're going to have to come up with a name. I always name my miniatures, and they're the most irreverent, silly, goofy names, because that's just how I function. I'm going to tilt this slightly back so it's more in my comfort zone. Okay, yeah, that's better. Actually, let me tuck that over there. Oh, there we go. It's far more efficient now. But yes, this Banderhob will need a name. Hopefully get that figured out. You may actually hear my stomach start growling. Sorry. It's just one of those mornings that kind of got away from you completely. I think I just got paint in my hair too. Question, do I use a paint palette, a wet palette? I have tried, it's a good question, Pielsto. And this is, you'll always hear me talk to do what is in your comfort zone. I have tried numerous times, I'm not kidding, numerous times to use a wet palette. There are definitely advantages that people will speak to for using a wet palette. I personally cannot stand them. And that's just a painter's preference. So if that is something you want to explore, there are different ways of making your own paint palettes, which I recommend you do before investing in one. Because that way you can, oh, I like that, Mr. Bojangle. That's an interesting one. Sidetracked, sorry, sparkly. Toady. So what you could always do is, if you're interested in doing a wet paint palette, simply take a simple plastic container, similar to, you know, a Tupperware or like an off-brand, that type of thing. I'm saying Tupperware because most people identify with that one. And you really would just need to get sort of a kitchen sponge, moisten it so it is damp, not dripping wet, and then put wax paper on top of that. And it sort of has a similar approach to what you will find in professional wet paint or wet palettes for paints. There are numerous videos here on YouTube to walk you through to do that, on how to make one. So if it is something you are entertaining, idea-wise, I recommend trying making your own first and seeing how you like working with one. I wasn't nuts about it. It just, I think because I'm used to paints behaving in a certain way for myself, and the wet palette did sort of adjust that, I tend to go to just doing what I'm doing right now. I like my paper plate, good to go, move along. It's truly just my preference. It's not to say that wet paint palettes aren't great. It's more, what do you want to do? How do you want to paint? What is in your comfort zone for your supplies? So hopefully that answers your question there. But I do recommend trying to, or giving it a try. Trying it out before coming up to a conclusion of your own. I will always share my experiences and my opinions. Keep in mind, there are my opinions. I will share whatever tips I can to help you out. But I won't say that my word is the be-all and end-all and you absolutely must do it this way, outside of things like don't drink your paint water. It might happen, but don't do it. I think you have officially entered into mini painter status when you have accidentally dipped your brush into your coffee and or tea or something. That's a thing that happens. Yeah, this is a solid green for the Banderhob. I would absolutely recommend, if you're using the Vallejo paints, go in for heavy green. It is doing a beautiful job, not just covering, but also getting to that green that I want. You can see above my head from that render. I'm using the render as my color guide. I'm going to keep going here. And how are we doing with time? All right, we are about where I wanted to be, as I had hoped. Coming up to the half-hour mark. This is probably going to be about an hour and a half stream. And honestly, what I'm doing now is going to be the longest part, just getting those base colors on before working on to the dry brushing. And I'm not kidding when I say just paint this all over the Banderhob. Obviously, avoiding the eyes and avoiding the mouth, because those will be getting different colors. All right, I'm going to pull this off screen. I'm going to pull this up here because there's some angles on the hand that I can't see, keeping it under the camera. And I want to make sure I get all of those. And there's some really gorgeous texture, which will definitely pop out when I start doing the dry brushing. We're not supposed to dip the brushes in. Well, it's not recommended. Not saying it doesn't happen. Hi, guilty as charged. Oh boy. All right, awesome. I'm glad that was of help for you. Again, any questions? It's not just questions about the products for the paint-alongs. I want to make sure that's clear. If you have questions about painting in and of itself, I did just dip my brush in a little bit more water because the paint's starting to dry out on me, but I know I'm catching it in time. If you ever have questions about mini painting during these paint-alongs, by all means, now is the time to ask me, and I'll do my best to share whatever tips and advice I have for you in that respect. So I'm going over the lips right now, that lovely gaping maw. Now, I did say I'm going to avoid the eyes. What I'm purposely doing is making sure I get this green to kind of go up and over and into the eye socket, not the eye socket, onto the eyeball, so that when I go in, there's a nice meeting of colors. You won't end up with, sometimes you'll see like that little hint of a white line between the two, but I'm not painting the entire eyeball green. And what that will also do for you, it creates a natural shadow in the eye itself, because if you look at the eyes, you see there's some shadowing happening as well. So it's just a little detail tip that helps, sort of a little cheat, if you will. And just work around here. He has a lot of texture, or they have a lot of texture going on around the nose area, so you may find you need to go in with your brush and sort of do a poking action. Not unheard of, especially for creatures with more details and textures around certain areas. I find that especially with things like feathers and scales, when you're getting the base color on. You can see I'm doing it right now. Just this sort of jabby motion. But again, it is also because you want to make sure you're getting that paint into all the nooks and crannies, because this is your base layer paint. Yes, washes do help with that, but I find if you can get as much paint as possible where you need it into those crevices, it helps. And in fact, it makes the details pop that much more when you do go in with the wash, because now the wash is playing off the green that you want it to. And move your minis around to get to different angles. I will always recommend that too. It's actually why I like, ooh, am I leaking? Okay, so this was filled with sand. That's okay, that's what vacuums are for. I am gonna need more paint because I'm getting to the bare minimum right there. Yeah, it helps with the overlapping, like I just said. And you'll see a lot of mini painters will recommend that step. So I'm going in here, I'm getting to this other side of the face. But the texture is fantastic. Like, I am super pleased with all these details that are happening around the face. And again, when I go back in to do the dry brush to highlight the higher points on this miniature, you're gonna see those details really pop out. You know, there are things like folds in the flesh and almost warts type of thing. Well, you know, it has a frog-like appearance to it, although it's not like a reptile or amphibian. It is a monstrosity created by hags. A little background lore for you about Banderhobbs. Made of shadows and flesh, which, I'm sorry, how metal is that? Made of shadows and flesh. And they're basically sort of like, not hitmen. I don't want to say hitmen. It's kind of like, let's say you made a bad deal and you have the goons. These are basically the goons. Someone is coming out for you to collect and to find you and collect, so to speak. They are known to be able to hunt down and find targets. Like little things like if they have like a piece of your clothing or a piece of jewelry or something like that, they can hunt you down. They are starting, that's a good question. Question is from PL Stowe. When will they start to include clear bases with the paintable minis? I'm not sure in terms of UPM when the plan is for that. For the pre-painted miniatures, that is already starting to come down and off the pipeline for clear bases. Yeah, this texture is phenomenal. Don't need that much. I'm just gonna do a couple more drops of paint and then go in. Do a couple more dabs of water just to help me get the rest of this going. And again, just thinned out ever so slightly. Okay, yeah, let me get to the top of the head here. Let me see, anything else? Cat just asked for midnight snack. Trust me, I get that one. You may have my little one, Rory. She decided she wanted to keep hanging out with me here. So she may make herself known. We shall see. The other thing you'll notice when you're getting your base color on is there might be points where you see just here and there, maybe you missed a spot. That's not uncommon. It's just a matter of going back in and quickly just going back over with the brush. Now is the time to catch those. All right. And sometimes the camera also just picks up a straight up glare. So I'll be looking like, I don't see the spot. Why is the camera? And like, oh, that's just a glare of paint. Is really all it is. Okay, so I have this one arm left. So let me get the arm. And what I am doing is I'm painting the wider areas first. So obviously the body and the base are going to get painted first. Then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do the eyes and the mouth. That is my strategy for this. And once I get that all painted, then we're going to take a look at that adult red dragon. But keep in mind, this adult red dragon, I'll talk about that a little bit. It is due to come out in February 2021. Now, I do want to make sure to mention that there are still some shipping issues that are occurring simply because of, I don't know if you saw there was an article on this on NPR where it was basically, there's a bunch of boats that are sitting in harbors waiting to be unloaded. It's just one of those things because of what's going on right now. There are delays happening and we're doing our best to keep on top of those, to do what we can from our end and make sure the product gets out. It is also why things like rolling releases are happening, because if you look behind me, our darling girl Arviatris, she is going to be coming out on January 20th, but that is a rolling release. Now, what does rolling release mean? It's actually pretty straightforward. Rolling release means that we are letting the stores who will be getting these in stock as the shipments get to them to start selling them. All right, so starting January 21st, if a store has Arviatris in stock, she will be up and out on the floor. All right, if it's something where there is another store still waiting for their shipment to get to them, they will release her as soon as possible, as soon as they have her in stock. You shouldn't use, washes. Yeah, don't use your best brushes for washes. Heck no, those are my downgrades. Like, I have a system of what happens in terms of who gets used for what, where, and when. Well, Starfire, everyone has their own method of painting. Okay, I already said in the very beginning, I'm hard on my brushes. I use them fiercely, which is why I also gravitates towards certain brands. Everyone's going to have their own technique. Everyone's going to do their own thing within their comfort for painting. So if you have a different method of painting, that is fantastic. I don't like to see the wording of never. Okay, keep that in mind, because my whole thing is I want to make sure that beginning painters feel comfortable and feel that painting is approachable. So yeah, I'm hard on my brushes. I already know that. I kill these things, and I have always been like that as an artist. My oil paint brushes, my acrylics, even my pastels. My pastels, even though that's not paint brushes, those get beat up too. So just keep that in mind in terms of phrasing, please and thank you. I would greatly appreciate that. So we have pretty much everything green that I want green. And now that we're getting color on this always happens. I am going to just slightly up my brightness because I have to dim a little bit when everything is white. Otherwise I get camera flare. So that is all of the green. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a quick spot check. I do see a spot that got missed. So I'm just going to quickly tuck my brush in and get that. There's another one over here. And again, this is because of all those nice, lovely, deep nooks and crannies. You will find there might be certain areas where you just need to quickly go in and reapply. Thank you, Mike. That is a very good way to put it. Because I cater to beginning painters, a lot of comments that I get behind the scenes and that maybe not everyone in the hobby is aware of, a lot of people get intimidated. I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong. And that is something that can act as a huge stopper for someone wanting to get into the hobby. I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong. Truly, there is no wrong way to do it unless you're taking like a paintbrush for a wall and slapping all this paint onto the mini and basically obliterating any details. You know, everyone's going to have their own groove and what they fall into and getting comfortable with. So that's why I'm always trying to be very cognizant and aware of phrasing and make sure that it's encouraging and open for everyone. Okay, so I am seeing some nice coverage here. I am happy with the heavy green. Oh, there is just a little bit right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to, what am I doing here for the base? Let me look at I'm going to go with charred brown. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to use charred brown. I believe that is in the woodland creatures. If I'm not, no, it's still in this one. Yep. So we're still going to be using Defenders of the Wild paint. Okay. So let me put this down. I'm going to rinse my brush. The other thing you can do with your paint water is to put a little tiny bit of liquid dish soap into your water. Not only does it help clean your brushes a little bit more, but it also helps when you're thinning your paints, just to kind of keep the pigments floating a little bit more cohesively. It basically acts like a flow agent. Again, a nice little on the cheap, quick little tip for you. Also, I have multiple paper towels. One is going to be used for blotting my brushes after I rinse them off. The other one is for dry brushing, pulling the paint off my brush for dry brushing. And then once I get this rinsed off enough, I'm going to switch over to charred brown for the earth. Yep, that's basically what we had already addressed in the beginning. So gentlemen, let's bring the paintbrush discussion to a close. People are going to have different levels of what they want to work with, how they're going to work with it, and in the end, it's ultimately their choice as to how they want to use their brushes. So I think we've pretty much addressed that. I think we're good in that respect. So I'm looking for charred brown, which is over, of course it's at the very end, isn't it? Are you what I'm looking for? Where's charred brown? Here we go. All right, charred brown. So again, just like the other bottle, you gotta move for a second there, sweetheart. Just like the other bottle, spin it to the side, you get your code, you get your name, and all of that goodness. And now I'm gonna put this onto the base. Really quick, really simple. Same brush. I just rinsed it off nicely. Just a couple drops. Now this paint is actually a little bit thicker, so I will again be thinning that paint without question. There we go. Just a couple drops. I think I did 2 or 3 of the charred brown. And I'm just going to apply. And you can see I wasn't exactly super neat with getting the green on, reason being because I wanted to make sure I was getting into those overlapping spots. But now I am going to be a wee bit more careful here. And I find it helps to have sort of a glob. There's a technical term. It helps to have just a little bit of more paint loaded onto your brush when you go to line in, especially in those little groove areas. And I also paint over the edges just because I find it helps. This does come with a classic black disc too, if you want to use that. You can add, I actually, that's a good question, take it back. You can absolutely add ball bearings into your paints to help with shaking. Have I done that yet personally? No, because I'm lazy. I don't have the time for it. But they are super effective. I have friends who do it all the time with fantastic results. So if you want to add ball bearings into your paints to help agitate them, you absolutely can do that. It's just a matter of carefully popping off the dropper top and just popping the ball bearing in there, and away you go. But it is a very handy tip. It's just not one that I use. And this is pretty straightforward. It's literally just charred brown all over the base. Nice and straightforward. I'm just going to carefully, I'm using the tip of my brush just to kind of touch the paint around the toes. And then bring it up and around the edge like that. You don't have the WizKids paints? I honestly, they're very nice sets. I was looking, there's a huge variety. Again, check out the link. There's a good variety of different sets that Vallejo is providing. And I do have all of them on hand. And what I'm going to try and do is make a conscientious effort to use those for other other paint-alongs here on Mini Mayhem. And that way, people can see the different colors and variety that are coming in these sets as well. All right, I am seeing on this one foot a couple of spots that I missed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish painting this brown, and I'll quickly go back in because my green is still nice and ready to be used. I will just go in and quickly touch up those areas. All right, I do need to pull this off from under the camera just because there are angles I need to reach and I can't with a camera hanging over my head. So I'm just going in and I'm getting those sides of the feet. Same approach like I did. Using a little bit of paint loaded to the side of my brush to edge along the foot. And then just going through and getting the rest of the area. Yes, PL, I responded to that. It is, I'm not sure when they will start having clear bases as well for the UPM unpainted miniatures. But at the very least, they are coming out now on pre-painted. So you'll be seeing pre-painted having those clear bases so that terrain shows through. I'm just going to keep going here. Again, the angle is a bit too awkward for me to keep it under. But I'm doing my best. So now that I have it edged out, it's just a matter of having that little bit extra painted in there, which is very simple and straightforward. So I'm going to go and get that. That's looking pretty good for the base. Again, this is all charred brown. Just making sure I have that. There we go. And I'm just going to touch up. There's that one area in the foot where I realized I missed a little bit of the green. Let's see here. Stainless steel. Stainless steel for... I missed something in the conversation there. Well, you're having a lovely conversation about something to do with stainless steel. I'm just going to quickly go back to heavy green and get those couple of spots that I saw on this foot here. There's one right here. There's one right there. There we go. All better. So that's the other large area I wanted to get covered. And now we're going to go into doing the mouth, and then I will do the eyes, because the eyes I'm going to jump to a different brush so I have a little bit more control of the area. So for the mouth, I'm going in with heavy sienna, which is this one. Oh, that's the sienna wash. I want heavy sienna, which was... This is where I'm going. Okay, so I'm jumping into woodland creatures to get my heavy sienna out. Pop this open. And it's the same deal. You get the pamphlet inside. And then you get the bottles of paint lined up on the inside. So this is heavy sienna. There's its code for those of you who would like the code. I'm just going to put this inside the mouth. And the teeth I will be doing as a second round. Oh, ball bearings. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. I don't need too much of this because it's, again, in the mouth. And I'm not going to get too worried about the fact that the teeth are there because the teeth I'm going to address later. The goal right now is to get this everywhere inside. And in this case, I didn't thin that paint because it actually is about where I want it to be. I tend to prefer my paints sometimes to be a little bit thicker, and this is one of those cases where I want it to be a little bit thicker for me because I'm dealing with some nooks and crannies around the teeth. So I'm just going to go in, and again, those teeth are going to be given some color. They aren't going to stay brown. But right now I'm just going to go around here. And I'm focusing on getting the inside first as much as possible, and then I'm going to edge around elsewhere. And technically I could have gone for something that's a little bit more reddish in a flesh tone. But like I said, I was trying to work with as much as possible the kits that I had on hand. You know what? I am going to change the style brush on this one once I get the inside of the mouth done. The prices, Mike, I addressed this in the beginning. The prices tend to vary based on where you are finding them, which supplier is selling them. So if you go to the link down below for Vallejo paints, you can see all the sets they have going for WizKids. There's a good variety of them. And then you can simply go online or check with your FLGS. FLGS I would definitely check with first, see if they have them, if that's an option for you. But there are various MSRP depending on where you are purchasing them, okay, from whom you are getting the product. I speak softer. I go into my Bob Ross mode. Hold on. Hold on. My phone just did the buzz buzz. And none of them are a text message. It's not my microphone yet. I can't wait for my new microphone. It was one of those things where it was hinting, my microphone was hinting to the fact that it may not be with me much longer. And then, those of you who know me know I do this all the time. And then suddenly what happened, ooh, I'm seeing that arm needs some more green too. And then what happened was, every so often it would make my voice go like really low and like down. I'm not kidding. There's clips on Twitch with this happening. And then one day I had a meeting to discuss some RPG stuff with someone. And he was like, Vee, there is a really whiny, high-pitched sound happening right now. And sure enough, it was my microphone singing its swan song. Apparently it's a high-pitched, irritating sound when the microphone was going. So I have a new one coming. I'm excited for it. Right now I have my trusty little snowball. It's a good little one. But in terms of things when I need to do voiceover work and when I do the games that I stream on, I want to have a better quality microphone because of the voice acting stuff. It just picks up the nuances better. The snowball's okay, but I have no control over a lot of things that I want to be able to control in terms of gain and bass and all that goodness. But if it's something where you're just looking to get into basic streaming, Snowball is great to get started. Little side note there. So yeah, the whole point of that is that's why I'm checking my cell phone. It's getting delivered today. There are a couple kit cases as well for the Vallejo stuff. It really is some good variety. Excellent for starting out, even for intermediate work. And then once you decide you like the products, then you can just easily sashay into getting their larger paint kits that have everything, whether it's game color line, model line. I want to say mech. Is it mech or is it tech? For the more industrial type stuff. Oh, you just got your first snowball. That's awesome, Daniel. I hope you enjoy it. No, I would not consider repainting. That's not something I would be doing. Not the pre-painted. I understand where you're coming from, but that would be a lot of hours time. A very interesting idea, but not something I can take on. I really kind of have like a 2-hour window here for these. And speaking of which, we're getting up to... Okay, so that is a mouth. All filled in with the heavy sienna. Let me get those eyeballs going, and then at the top of the hour, we're going to be taking a look at this red dragon because I need things to dry a little bit. Rinse that brush, and I'm going to go to, let's see, what am I doing for the eyes? Camo green. So I need to go back into Defenders of the Wild to get my camo green out, which has more of a yellowish tone to it, which is why I'm using that one. Mecca, thank you, Mike. So here's camo green. As you can see, it has this yellowy tone to it. There's the code information for you. Ooh, tight cap on this one. And again, I'm not going to be thinning the paint on this one because I like it just a little bit thicker when I do work on the eyes, just because it helps me have a little bit more control over things. If you decide you want to thin, by all means, go ahead and thin your paint out. But for me, this is my comfort level. So I'm going to just go in here now. And obviously it's a smaller brush now. And I will go quiet because I'm concentrating. But it gives that nice pop of yellow that I want. Here we go. One eyeball almost done. Just slow and steady. And you'll see I'm resting my pinky against my other hand. You'll see I do this a lot. I call it steepling. And it helps give more control to your hand so that you don't have it trembling as much. If you want a lot more control, you can always pull the miniature into your body, lock your arms against your torso, your forearms against your torso, push your wrists together, and then paint like this. It gives you a lot more control that way too. PL, I have answered this question 3 times now, sweetheart. I'm not answering it again. So, let's go to the other eye now. Same thing, I'm gonna get quiet for a minute. You can also hold your breath, which is what I was just doing. I don't recommend holding it beyond a count of 10. I don't want you passing out. Why do I say don't hold your breath forever? So you don't pass out, my darlings. That would be bad. That is not the goal of miniature painting. And I will be doing another miniature painting, but for Pathfinder battles, over on Band of Badgers Twitch channel on Monday, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. They are a British-based group, so it's evening for them, but for me it's a late afternoon deal. So please feel free to join us over there. Okay, I am liking that for the eyes. Look at that. That makes me happy. I am just going to quickly see some more green that needs to be filled in the blank there. Just a couple spots up here. Let's get those addressed. You'll find that happens. You'll do a back and forth every so often, which is why I like to try and get all the base colors on first so that you can go back in. I think right there, a couple little spots that were because of the texture. Just need a little bit more green on them. And then I'm going to let this guy dry for a little bit because I want to do some dry brushing, and that's where the magic is really going to start happening with this beauty. Really. Okay, so this is all of the base colors on. So we have heavy green on the body. We have charred brown on the base. In the mouth is sienna, which sienna, I think it was heavy sienna. Yes, heavy sienna, and the eyeballs is the camo green. So right now we're going to put that there to the side. Now let's talk about some darkens. Okay, so I've been talking about this one. And let me just grab it over here. Ooh, and I'm going to flip to the overhead, not the overhead, I'm going to flip to from the overhead to the main screen. Hi! Okay, so here we have the adult red dragon. It comes in, again, this fantastic box. You'll see artwork on the sides, like that. the background has a closer bit of artwork. You'll see that the blurbs that used to be on here, we're doing away with those. So it's more of this clean approach, very straightforward, simple. Here, also getting my ring light. Hi. And on the bottom is just the legal for the box. Okay, so that's the box setup. So this is still available for pre-order. It is coming out February 2021. So this year, yay! Soon-ish. If you want to get this, it is $69.99 suggested MSRP. When you go to open it up, you will see that it has this. I love this pattern. Like this makes me happy. It's this ampersand D&D in various shapes and sizes of a medium gray over the black background. So it's actually quite pretty on the inside too. If this is something you wanted to keep in the box for display purposes, you absolutely could because of the artwork. So let me take this out. That was probably very loud, but you can see classic clamshell and phenomenal cosmic powers, 80 living space. Let me move the box over yonder. Classic clamshell. You see it comes fully assembled, like so. Okay. This is the same scale and size as the other two, the white and the black, which I have shown here previously. So that is, what is that? That is 200 millimeters tall and over 135 millimeters long. It's also why I made sure I had white and why I had black on hand so you can see them as well. But here we have the red dragon. It is lofted up on that transparent clear base. Again, clear base here. If you look at the bottom, there is that frosted ring to represent huge. We have the base larger so that we can have these super dynamic poses, but there is enough space that the base can keep it stable. That is why you'll be seeing these frosted rings for some of the models on the clear bases. It's so you know that this is the space it actually takes up as a huge creature, but this is what we need to make sure that it is stable on the table. That was not intentional, but hey, I think I'm going to keep it. But you can see here, I mean, first of all, this is like the iconic dragon of D&D. The red dragon. Fire breathing, all that goodness. But I want you to see here, we have this great detailing of this darker blackish red along the edges of the wings and along the fan of the flesh between the spines going down the back and the tail. And you have these brighter pops of red. And there's actually this gorgeous veining. I'm going to show you in just a second. There's this gorgeous veining that is happening in the wing texture too. Really is phenomenal. And you have the musculature, the tension in the muscles, just from the pose itself. Look at this. Look at all that. If you look at the throat and the underbelly, you have this darker tan going on with a lot of heavy texture. I'm going to show this in the overhead too, but I want you to see full scale out and about here. I don't think you would be able to get, because that's sort of like etched in there. It's within the plastic itself. I don't think you'd be able to get rid of that ring. Stable for the table, next punk band. So this is the red, and let me show you, I'll pull the black out. Here's the black. The black just came out, available in stores. So you can see the two of them side by side. This one's positioned floor. This one is positioned in flight. But it gives you an idea of the wings and how they have similarities, but they also have some drastic differences to them, which I really think adds to the uniqueness and the personalities, quite frankly, of each of these dragons. So this is out in stores now. Definitely check with your FLGS to see if they have them in stock. And then this one is available for pre-order, coming in, February. And medium mini for scale. So you can see, that's a medium dragonborn. Here is the dragon itself, the red dragon. Oh, honestly, the black dragon is my favorite one. I have named mine Jafar, just in case you wanted to know. That one is Jafar. And yes, I'm going to name the blue one Aladdin. So that actually brings me to this. Yes, we will be having the adult blue as well as the adult green. The adult blue is scheduled for, and again, keep in mind, sometimes things can shift and move around. That one is looking for spring of 2021. And then the green dragon will be a couple months after that one. So you will get your full scale of chromatics for the adult dragons red, white, black, blue, and green. But right there, you can see right there, here's some of that veining detail I was talking about. Look at this. It's like Dude Dragon is ripped. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly move my paint because I don't want to get that in the paint. Let me go back to overhead. I just want to show you some of these details up close. Well, that's extremely up close. I'm going to have to raise my camera up a bit. Here we go. All right, so you can see, look at this texture that's going on here. You can see the veins happening there. It's just beautifully intricate details. It's nice and deep. I mean, I always joke around like, you know, the ASMR, you can hear it. It gives you an idea of everything that's going on there. This camera tends to run warmer than my front-on camera. How does it compare to the Pathfinder? The Pathfinder ones are slightly smaller. Their gargantuans are smaller than the D&D gargantuans. I can speak to that officially. I opened up the Mankari last week. If you want to see what a gargantuan Pathfinder looks like in comparison to, it's, you know, slightly smaller. Yeah, there's no, let me see here. Did any of them come with a detachable? So far as I know, the red, no. The black, the white, and the red so far have not had anything detachable to them. Ooh, that was the camera I just hit. So that is the, here, let's get the face. Now you can see the face. And you can see the details on those scales, which are just surreal and wonderful and fantastic. And and this is as a mini painter. I have pulled these all out and have gone, wow, each and every single time. Just the details that are already done for a pre-painted, they are beautiful. If there is something you want to do yourself later on, I know a lot of people will do that, especially mini painters and things like that, to go in and add a little bit of extra. But quite frankly, these are ready. Take it out of the box, pop it on the table, put it up on display. I 100% stand behind that statement from my own experience. But again, I just want you to see, look at this. It's just, it's gorgeous. It really is. It really, really is. And again, there's so many, the poses, there's just this fantastic, like I said, there's tension, there's motion, there's this potential movement because of how they are sculpted that I really do appreciate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera. I'm going to put this, or no, that's the Chromanticore. Move the Chromanticore, and I'm going to put red over here so they will hang out up yonder, right there. And now we're going to go back to our lovely Banderhob. But if you want to, again, that is available for pre-order now. Do so. FLGS, let them know. If it's a matter of, there's my paint. If it's a matter of you don't have an FLGS, then by all means, the WizKids shop.wizkids.com, the dndmini.com, Amazon, and other online stores to get your pre-order going. I think that pretty much covers us to the where for the pre-orders and February 2021. Oh yeah, he and Orcus could be buddies. I have Orcus. I don't know if you can see Orcus. Orcus is right over there in the red dragon. Yeah. Oh yeah. They both look great together. And the blue one I do have. I will be doing an unboxing closer to when it is time to start pre-ordering the blue dragon. But the blue one, oh, yeah, I like it. I really like the blue one too. Okay, so let's get back to the Banderhob. I'm going to flip over now to using my flat brush. I have this one, and I'm actually also going to use the larger one that has more of the angle because I like to do that for minis that have a little bit more space to use. So I'm going to be using these two. Now I'm going to switch over to the Goblin Green for the back portion of the body. All right, because if you look at this render above my head, you can see there's more of this yellowish tone that happens in the front, and then it goes more to a green around the rest of the body. Would like to see, I don't have the old Orcus, otherwise I'd happily show you the two together, but I can't compare the two. I don't have that ability. That's not in my collection. And again, I'm just giving this a shake. Now, whenever I go into dry brush, I don't thin my paints. That's just my personal preference. It's not something I do. I like having that a little bit of extra thickness to it because I find it just helps me in terms of my preference for dry brushing. So I'm going to go in with my larger brush because I'm covering a larger portion of the body. And I'm just going to dip it into my paint and then just pull some away on the paper towel here. You can see. And then I'm going to go through and dry brush the back of the body, but I'm kind of going to leave like the paunchy belly so that I can go in and do that with the camo green is the plan. And whenever you dry brush, you pull it sort of against the grain of the details. And just keep your hands very light, and you can see it starts to bring out all that lovely texture. And this is, to me, this is like one of my favorite parts when it comes time to dry brush. And it always helps to go lighter on your load for paint, because you can always go back in and add more. And this is why I like having the angled, because then I can just quickly go in here and have a little bit more control because I just did the feet there. So this is dry brushing, pretty straightforward. And I'm going to get the majority of the back of the body with, again, this is camo green, this is goblin green, not camo green. I'm going to use the goblin green and then switch over to camo in the front to play off the yellow that you see happening in the front. And then I'm going to do a wash. I'm just debating. I think I might gravitate more towards a sepia or an umber wash, because yes, you can do a black wash. A lot of people like to go in with a black wash. But when it comes to greens, often I prefer to use more of the brown tones. I just find that's a lot better for me in my preference for finished look. You could even do a green wash if you have one on hand. Oh yeah, I've used makeup brushes for dry brushing. It's quite nice. I've also used nail art brushes, which fan brushes. If you go to nail brush sets, fan brushes are fantastic for dry brushing. They really are. So again, I'm just going to take this. The claws and everything I'm going to do in a little bit. I want to get this dry brushing going first. And I am bringing the goblin green up, even though I know I'm going to put some camo around here more. But that'll just help sort of blend the two colors into each other so there's not a stark delineation from one to the other. And this is obviously because of the time I have. I'm making this more of a quote-unquote speed paint. Let's see. Hello, Michael. How are you doing today? By the way, please go over to Michael Mordor's Twitch channel after this and check out. He has done two fantastic paints, both the Kraken and the Viking set. Hello, gorgeously done. I loved seeing the photos the past couple days, Michael. Like, chef kiss gorgeous. I'd chef kiss right now, but I'm holding my paintbrush. My luck, I'd probably paint my face. But yes, do go over and check out Michael. He is one of our miniature painters. You will see him often featuring WizKids miniatures. Definitely worthwhile, and he too caters to beginner painters. So by all means, give him a visit, give him a heart while you're there on Twitch. And you are working on YouTube as well, correct, Michael? Yes, I do like using my angled dry brush. I find it helps to get into certain areas as opposed to just the simple flathead. Like right here, I find it helps when I need to get into tighter spots. And again, you'll find your brush preferences with time as you work with them. Really, the name of the game is just to make sure you're keeping it floating above the texture and pulling it across the texture is really what helps. You are very welcome. Anytime, Michael. Like I said, when I'm done here, go and check out Michael on Twitch and YouTube. You will not be disappointed. That Kraken. Hello, that Kraken with the color shifting paints. Oh, that was just, I caught it. Didn't you post it over the weekend? When I saw that, I was just like, pity, pity, gimme, gimme. Now, of course, I have my own downstairs, but I think I'm going to do a similar approach with using some color shifts that I have because of how well that brought out the details. And it just gave this great from the ocean, creature from the ocean look, which, you know, you kind of want with a Kraken. But yeah, just beautifully done. All right, so I'm almost done here with the goblin green. How appropriate. Michael, you join us as I'm using goblin green. And it's just tightened up the details here that we have going on. It is not a drastic color contrast. I didn't want that because if you look at the render above, you can see it's not too drastic around the back portion of the body, but You can definitely tell. In fact, let me just fix my settings again now that we're not in such flare out mode with extra white happening here. There we go. All right. Yep, Michael Mortar, and you'll find him no problem over on Twitch and also here on YouTube. And like I said, I'm actually going back around again just to load a little bit more of this goblin green where I want it. It's easier to add than to take away when it comes to dry brushing. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing another sweep around, literally, with this color. How are we doing on time? 1:10. All right, we're doing pretty well. This might go into the 2 o'clock mode, so we might be looking at a 2-hour paint along, but I kind of figured, honestly, with the size of this miniature, that it would take a little bit longer. Okay, I think I'm liking where we are now with this. Yeah, so this is it for the goblin green for me. You can see it's brought out all those lovely details. You get some shadowing effects now. Now I'm going to switch over to, I'm going to rinse this brush, and I'm going to go back to the camouflage green and work that onto the front. However, I'm going to work this with the smaller so that I have a little bit more control over it. Oh, good, you found him. You found him. Excellent. Let's see here. Just catching up with the chat. All right, good. Good. We're all caught up. We're doing well. We're doing beautifully. All right, so back to this camo green. And as you can tell, looking at the render above my head, I love doing this because I'm not pointing to anything particular, but I know that this means you can see the lips very much have more of this yellowish tone to them. So I'm going to start with doing the lips, and then I will bring it down into the, I guess, gullet, jowls, we'll call them jowls, into the jowls and then into the tummy is the approach for this one. I'm not doing the teeth yet. The teeth are going to come after this step, actually, because I knew I'm going to go in with this color and I didn't want it to get too...
One moment, please. Table space.
I do need to figure out why my pill bottle is leaking, though. That's new. It's probably just the seal is finally going because I've used this for so long. But it's just lightly dusting this over the heavy green using camo green. And yes, I know I just got quiet because I'm concentrating. I'm thinking. And again, just move your mini around so you can get to those different angles. Yeah, I'm still debating what color wash I might land. I might just jump into sienna. Use the sienna wash from Vallejo. I want these edges to have a little bit more. I'm doing a slight overbrush because it is such a drastic difference. Overbrush means there's just a little bit more paint loaded on than if I were doing a full-on dry brush. Because I really want these lips to get that sickly yellowish look to them. Like so. There you can see the yellow starting to pop out a little bit more from the camo green. Kind of like we're giving him a makeover. Let's look at the render. Yeah, it pretty much starts with the lips where that yellow kicks in. Okay, so there we have the lips. Getting that going. There are no mistakes, just happy accidents. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am going to put a little bit of this through here, just because I want to play this texture up more around the nose and the eyes. I'll pull this down from the eyelids. There are some really good textures here that I want just a little bit more accentuated. The nice thing is because we use the yellow camo green on the eyes, I can actually draw this across, and it's not going to affect the eye color, but it will help me get the face a little bit more detailed. And now I'm going to bring this down through the front area that we talked about. the jowls and into the stomach. But there is some really awesome skin texture here that will now be brought out because of this dry brushing. But this is so much fun with the different, like, you know, the folds in the skin, the bloated stretch of the skin. Definitely.
Give me a kiss.
Sorry, I just read a comment in the chat. But you got the bloated skin, you have the stretch pull to it, the warts. Oh, it's just loveliness. It's wonderful. Bring this down into here as well. And don't forget, this fellow, if you're joining us later, this fellow is in stores. It's part of Wave 13 for Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, the D&D line. The D&D line. Just changing angle here so I can get a little bit up in the undercarriage. And again, I'm going to work on doing like a gradual build up here. I didn't want to do huge coverage. I want to see how this dries and works. And now that I'm seeing that, I'm definitely going to go back over and hit a few points a little bit more, especially where these warts are and where this veining detail is, because that's just deliciously grotesque. I'm about to get to the teeth. Don't worry, I have not forgotten about the teeth. I do want to play this facial area up a little bit more. Yeah, I'm liking that. There we go. You can see how that just kicks into gear. Okay, I am happy with that result. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm looking at my reference right now. I'm going to go in and get the teeth, and then we will do the claws. Because the teeth, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to use off-white for the teeth, and that is in the Woodland Creatures set, and then I'm going to go to khaki for the claws. So we're going into the Woodland Creatures, so getting out bone white for the teeth, and actually, hold on, I wanted to just do a quick little brush of dry brushing with leather brown in the mouth to bring out that tongue a little bit more. So let me get that out before I forget. I knew there was one last bit I needed. And that's just going to, like I said, with the way the tongue's sticking out, I wanted to give that a little bit more highlighting, if you will, by dry brushing. And then I'll do the teeth. That way I'm not worried about the teeth getting something on them. So I just want to get this tongue a little bit. Nothing too major. Just give that a little bit more texture and do a little bit here on the sides of the mouth. And that just gives it a little bit of visual interest just by doing that. All right. So here we go. You have off-white and we have khaki. First off-white to get those teeth, and then khaki. And then I will do a dry brushing on the base is the plan. So I'm going to go back to a very fine tipped paintbrush. I know, but the off-white's going to go onto the tufts. And I like to load just like a dollop of paint and then just go in and get the teeth. Now I am going to do a wash. This is why I'm going for this particular color. I am going to go in and do a sienna wash, which will give this more of a yellowish tone. So I know that these teeth are not going to look so, you know, hi, I just got back from the dentist. That's something I always factor in with teeth. If I were to go in and do khaki with this and then do the wash, the teeth would actually get almost too brown. So I wanted these, because I'm already painting over a brown, to have more of an ivory tone to them, knowing that the wash is going to bring the teeth back down to a grungy tone, for sure. And that's a little bit too much on my brush, so I just dollop on my hand. Okay, yeah, we're still in frame. I'm definitely liking this setup better for showcasing things. I think this is how I'm going to keep things going for my studio setup and breakdown. Because, you know, I only have so much space to work with. I'll get the ones on the bottom. Now I also prefer not to do my washes within minutes of completing it. So I will not be doing the wash on this today. I will show you which wash I plan on using though. So that way if you're following along, you can complete it that way. Let's see here. The thumb palette. Absolutely the thumb palette comes into play. Consueter, do I paint minis? No, I'm practicing to be a manicurist. I'm telling you. I have had mini paint stay on my nail far longer than I've ever had nail polish stay on my nail. But honestly, the flesh on your hand and the nails are great for testing out paints to see if you have enough, not too much, type of things. You'll see on my old streams, I'll even use my wrist for dry. I still do it to test for dry brushing texture, especially if I know it's a less detailed mini. How are we looking in the tooth department? We're getting there. There's just a little bit more I want to get on these guys. Yeah. Get a little bit further down. All right, so there we have the teeth. And again, the wash I know is going to yellow it up. So it's not going to look bright and pristine and pretty. Now I'm going to flip over to khaki for the claws, both on hands and feet. Straight up khaki, keep it very simple. Oof. Nope, nothing yet. I'm telling you. I want my microphone. There we go. A little bit of khaki out of the bottle. I'll do the claws, and then what I'm going to do are the pupils, the slit pupils, and that's where I had to grab my own personal black because the two paint sets did not have black in it. Oh, look, it's 1, 2, 3. That's one of my favorite number combinations. Little side fact for you. So we have these lovely little claws on the toesies. I'm using khaki on that one. If you look at the render, it has more of a grayish tone, but the two sets were more earth tone combinations. So I don't really have a gray to work with. And yes, I could mix the black with the bone white to get a grayish tone. But honestly, I kind of want to do it this way because I like the earthy colors. Oops, little spot there. That's okay, I haven't dry brushed the base yet anyway, so we're good. Just carefully going in here. And you will find, for toes like this, it helps to move the miniature side to side, like I'm doing right now, just to get as many angles as possible. But here we have pedicure, mani-pedi time. I don't think you want a Banderhob in possession of any teeth, you hump. A chomp. Forget a yuck, it's a hot chomp. Same thing, I'm gonna go in here. Get the Tootsie Footsies. I think what I'm gonna do, I might just go into doing heavy sienna as a quick dry brush for the texture on the base. All right, and my brush just hiccuped a little bit, so quick little tip. You can always go in if you get a little bit of color you don't want it, and you have to act fast for this one. Just take a clean brush and you can work the paint back off like I just did. It's kind of hard to show on camera, but quick little tip if that should happen. If you act quickly and the paint is still wet, you can remove it with a slightly damp, clean brush. If you ever hiccup. And trust me, hiccups happen. Hiccups definitely happen. What Mike, it's another Yeti is sending me, Mike, and I don't remember it. It's a very long official title, but it is definitely a streamer gamer friendly mic, so I can play around with the settings a little bit more. It's not a blue, it's a couple steps above the blue. I'll share. I will share. But yeah, I'm getting it from Yeti. Yeti is sending it along today. I can't wait. All right, so we have the toesies, all dunsies. Now we'll get the hands. Oh. Same idea. I just put a nice little dollop at the tip of my brush and let the paint work for me in that respect. It's more like the dollop of paint than so much as the paintbrush is touching the area I want to paint. All right. That takes care of all those claws right there.
Awkward angle.
Then what I'll do is once I get the top portions of these done, I spin it around and I look to underneath to catch any area that the claw needs from the other side. Alright, so see now I'm looking under. Yeah, there's a little bit. There's a slight little bit here. Not so much there. Yes, there. Okay. And then, other hand. Trying to get the right angle there. Yeah, this one the claws stick out a little bit more on the one hand that's more pulled into the side. But now you see his claws are done, as are the teeth. Now let's get that base going with a little bit of extra texture brought out. And then I'm gonna do this, the eyes, the slit in the eyes. How fine is the point on this brush? This is a 10/1 for that one. It's actually quite nice. It's a good one. I like this one a lot. Color, that's what I was thinking. I'm debating, do I want to do heavy sienna, or perhaps I'm going to do, no, it's a sienna wash. You know what, I think I might use khaki. Or, sorry, leather brown. I'm going to use leather brown. I'm going to use leather brown for this one. Oh, I still have leather brown out. Beautiful. Gonna go to leather brown. I'm going to go to my larger, the one with the angle to it. I'm just going to quickly, yeah, I'm happy with leather brown. Just brush this across the top to bring out all that texture. Don't forget to work it around the side too. You know, be a little bit more careful with when you get by the feet. Again, this is why I like that angle on it. I find it gives me a lot more control as to where things go when you're dry brushing close to faces. You don't want the particular color to get. You can hear my voice is going already. I've been chatterboxing for a while now. And just do your best to get into those areas you want. So this is using leather brown, which I had used to sort of bring out some more details in the mouth itself. Now using that on the base for its little last round. There we go. All right, so now we have all of that lovely texture brought out in the bottom too. And now we just have the eyes. So that is gonna be done with basic black. The moment of truth. Eyeball work. Now I will say, when it comes to doing eyes, especially if you're doing more humanoid type of faces, a lot of times the human mind will basically matrix a face, which means that we have it all set up and prepared and set forth in terms of how we are identifying the shape and the form of the face. It makes it a lot harder to actually balance it. So what you'll often see me do when it comes time to doing eyes is I will turn the mini over, because by turning the mini over, your face disassociates the standard form of a face, and it's actually easier to find your balance. So that's a little hint I will give when doing eyes, to turn the mini upside down when it comes to pupils, and it kind of helps you from the wall-eyed Wally syndrome that can sometimes happen when you're doing that. So this is just my black from the model color line from Vallejo still, and now it's what I do. It is not necessary, but it's what I do. And as you can see, the eyes are slit across on the horizontal. Let's see here. Actually, the Concept Nerd is no longer Vallejo. I'm trying to remember which brand it is or who we use, but at one point we were using Vallejo. Now I'm just going to go in. And let me see here. Yeah, it does not go all the way across. So there's one. It's almost like goat eyes. So then we have the one slit pupil. And now I'm going to go in, again, turn this upside down. Get my center point. Probably hearing my clock ticking at this point. But now we have the slits in there. Since I have those in there, now I can go back in and just fine tune it a little bit. There we go. And look at this menacing fellow. Oh, that looks like he's almost laughing at this point. But here you go. That is pretty much all the work I'm going to do on this one because I want to give this time to dry. I personally like to let my paints dry. I want to give it at least a couple hours before I go in with a wash. Reason being, if you jump in too soon with a wash, if the paint is still slightly damp, you're going to find that it muddies and it gets a little bit blurry, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to let this dry for a couple hours, and then what I am going to do is I'm going to go in with the Sienna Wash, because I have been looking at it and I have decided this is coming in the, which kit is this in? The Sienna Wash was with the, or the Sepia Wash, sorry, Sepia Wash. The Sepia Wash is in the Defenders of the Wild kit. So I'm going to go in with this one. It's a very yellowish brown, and I want to keep the yellowy tones going on. So which is why I'm going to go with the Sepia, and then put that definitely into the mouth because I want those teeth to get more yellowed. And this will help enhance the other details and fall into the nooks and crannies of the sculpt without dulling the brightness of the yellows and the greens. Because if I go in with a black wash, it's going to dull the colors. And I really don't want to do that with what we have going on here. But at this point, this is where the Banderhob has pretty much reached completion for me in terms of what I'm going to do. I will do some extra work, like I said, with the wash, get that in there. I may go back to the teeth and to the claws and just do a very, very light touch of an ivory, which I can do again over the teeth because I will have the sepia wash on there, bringing in a yellowish tone, and also to the claws, just to kind of give them a little bit of extra form. But that's something I have to wait until after I do the wash. And then what I'm going to do with the eyes, what I love to do with eyes, especially on creatures and monsters like this, is I like to put in a glossy varnish so that they have this nice glow to them. All right, so that would be what I do on the eyes. I'd put a gloss on. Then I would finish the body itself actually with a satin varnish, not a matte, but a satin, just so it has a slight slick look to it. But that would be my plans for how I would finish this up. But you can see, buddy to buddy, here we have the Vanderhob from not the Vanderhob, the Banderhob from Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures, all painted up, and about an hour and a half. It'd probably be another extra half hour or so of paint that would go into getting this done. But like I said, I want the colors to dry a little bit. So that is that one. And I think what I'm going to do is just one more time, I'm going to bring out Mr. Red so you guys can get a good close look at this one. So here we go. You have, this is up for pre-order now, coming out February 2021. Please contact your FLGS. Let them know this has caught your attention and you'd like to add it to your collection. But this is the adult red dragon. And it's stunning. Seriously, just the details on the wings and the musculature and the scales. Man, y'all. There we go. Look at that. It's a beautiful dragon. It really is. I don't know what I'm going to name this one yet. I could just be very bland and name Scarlet, but I don't think I'm going to do that one. But this one, if you are interested in adding to your collection, absolutely get your pre-order in. And then yes, we will have the blue and the green coming later on in 2021 of this year. So you can see that. And if you look, we have that frosted circle to show the huge. It is not gargantuan, it is huge in playability. But this is making it stay nice and balanced because we have this fantastic pose of it being up in the air like this. But it's a beautiful, and I love how we have the tail whipping around. Looks like it's almost about to whip back out and knock someone out. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a whole bunch happening here. And it is stunning. Really is great work. And let me just quickly see here. Nope, still, that was not for the text messages. Microphone is here. Forgive me. Forgive me. I'm really trying to be good about not checking the cell phone while I'm doing this with you all because you're all so fantastic and wonderful. But here we go. So that is the adult red dragon from WizKids. And as you can see, there's, yep, that's black right over there. And that's the white adults next to Orcus right there to give you a sense of everyone that is going on around us here. Beauty, beauty, beauties. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you again for joining me today for the Banderhob, which I will finish up. And I'll take some pictures and I'll share them hopefully tomorrow of the end results for this one. So hopefully you've enjoyed yourselves. Thank you so much for all of the questions in the chat. It's always very much appreciated. I do my best to answer them to the best of my ability and my knowledge of what I have on hand. And if anything else comes up, then by all means, you're welcome to jump in and check things out. And it is one of those things where next week, I'm going to have some fun revealing another very cool D&D collectible. You know, might have something to do with an eye and a hand. It's actually something I'm really excited to share with you all. And I think I might do some fun unboxing of a random D&D booster because everyone seems to get a kick out of that too. So join me next week where we're going to take a look at the Eye and Hand of Vecna from the D&D Icons of the Realms, as well as a to be determined booster from one of our lines. Take care, everyone. Don't forget, subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed yourselves for this past hour and a half plus, then please be sure to hit that like. It is a big help and it's a nice little boost so that more people know this is happening and they can take a look at it later. Don't forget to check out Vallejo's website, which is in the description below. You can check out and see what other great paint kits they have, which you can find in your FLGS as well as online. They're being sold by Vallejo. They are licensed with us. We are not selling them personally, just to make sure. Oh, vacuums. Secrets. And you can also see some more painting of WizKids miniatures over on Band of Badgers Monday night, 4 p.m. Eastern time over on Band of Badgers on Twitch. We're going to be painting some classic Pathfinder goblins. And I think that pretty much covers it. I think we're good. I will see you on the flip side on socials. You can find me as the Crafting Muse pretty much everywhere. Until then, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up like I like to for every single stream. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Until next time, thank you and take care, everyone. Bye!